since you took me in, and I know I'll never love this way again. I know I'll never love this way again. So I keep holding on before the good is gone. I know I'll never love this way again. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. A fool will lose tomorrow, reaching back for yesterday. I won't turn my head in sorrow if you should go away. Rest remember just how good it's been, and I know I'll never love this way again. I know I'll never love this way again, so I keep holding on before the good is gone. I know I'll never love this way again.
Okay, guys, that's my favorite Regine Velasquez. The song entitled "I'll Never Love This Way Again." Okay. Okay, guys, I'm back here now. Okay, guys, this is the second part of my TI update, Global Gestapo. I actually wrote their Global Gestapo, and I still have to share with you the 15 minutes duration from that video clip from the latest Global Gestapo with Dr. Eric Karlstrom and Ramola D on Ramola D Reports on YouTube. When I finish this one, I got six more to go that I'm trying to discuss here. Where's that now? Okay, let's now moving on, guys, to be continued. Okay, this is the second part of my targeted individual update. Today is the 2nd of October 2018 here in Australia. It's already 6 p.m. Actually, 6 p.m. That's my time for my Zumba and my exercise. But Let me do this one quickly if I can. Maybe another an hour and a half. Who knows? But I don't think so. We'll see. We'll see, guys. So let me continue. Second part two. Okay. Number five. Number four I've discussed. Number five. Express gratitude for the people and the things you still have in your life. Example, your friends, your family, neighbors, co-workers, pets, and nurture those relationships, it says. Okay. So guys, um, it's really hard when you are put into this program. This program is been around for the last 70 or more years. Okay. I'm like a broken record. I always say in all of my videos, this program is older than my mom. She's 68. And sometimes the reason, the logic that I can say that I don't like, sometimes you have that moment wherein, oh, you really, you have that moment. Me, this is my own personal experience when I am out, and I know that they're gang stalkers, and they you know they have to come up with, and sometimes I don't wear my earphone anymore because it doesn't really affect me, and I don't let it affect me when they have their conversational street theater scenarios. Conversational means, when you hear them talking, but actually it's a subliminal message that it's for you. Sometimes I don't ear my earphones anymore because I don't let it affect my brain or whatever they say about me. How? Because I know who I am, and I am being transparent. I am, my life is an open book even before I got awakened, even before I found out that I am a targeted individual. So what is there left for them to talk about me and say things about me? Besides, I know myself better than them. Yeah. So that's the thing that I can, it's a good tip, guys. You have to be just transparent and just be who you are, because that's the one thing that they want to modify is your behavior. They want to change the real you, the who you were in the past, the things that you like in the past. They and the thing, the cruel thing about this program is that they use the things that you like and they use the things that you don't like to harass you psychologically. Unbelievable. Where did you find program, a satanic program? Well, it's satanic. Satanic. The nature of this program is satanic. It's evilish, wicked. So what can we do? Right? So they use the things that you like and the things that you don't like to harass you psychologically. Unbelievable. And I don't know. But still, it's I still like what I like, I guess. And nothing changed. Just be who you are. Because that's what the things that they want to modify is your behavior. Yeah. They want to push you the button and everything to change you, to modify you. Okay, so express gratitude for the people and the things you still have in your life. Well, my personal experience with me, I know that my siblings, my two brothers, my younger brother is in Bahrain. I know that he's a mind control victim and he's a targeted individual, and he hasn't he's not awake yet about what's really going on. And my brother, my big brother in the Philippines, he's now a single dad, and finally uh he woke up. He's awakened now as well, and he knew now that his ex-wife is a gang stalker, and he ended up with four kids. He's a single father right now there too. So things like that. And I know that my siblings are not sold out, but I know as well that they're mind controlled. So this program is really tricky. It is tricky in the sense that if the hive mind team and my handler is watching, both Philippines and Australia, um at first, when I was at first, maybe let's say 5 months ago, I kind of like thinking, oh, are my brothers on in it? Are they on in it? Are they like sold out? But when I've learned about mind control, about about these mind control things, I know that they're mind control. They can inject things in their brain that they have to act upon it, and say things that they're not meant to say. And sometimes situations that are manipulated by gang stalkers back in Bahrain, back in the Philippines as well. And when the time I talk to my brother, there are things, I see things, I hear things that can connect to my harassment here in Australia. And I say, oh, no, the situation is just manipulated. That's why he said that. And if it's not manipulated, they are mind control as well. So that's for sure. So I know for sure that my siblings are not sold out. Compared to those five first cousins that I had, they are sold out. I've discussed that on my YouTube. And my mom as well is on my I don't know with my mom because she's 68. Maybe she was under the MK Ultra program. That's what I think. Yeah, so guys, to all the targeted individuals, express gratitude for the people and the things you still have in your life. And the other day I went to DY. I, guys, I think I love driving. I'm not a good driver. I'm Asian, as you know. I'm not good in reverse and things like that. But I love driving. Driving is good. And regardless of, I know when I'm driving, they put their street theater on the road. Their software engineer is busy with whatever. But I just enjoy driving. And look what happened on, when was that? On Tuesday when I spotted a cell tower. Yeah, in Linfield. That's a good experience. But I love driving, long drive. I'm actually contemplating of driving to Brisbane, maybe to Queensland, maybe. That's 11 hours drive. Who knows? Yeah. So guys, number five, express gratitude. With my mom, there's no such thing as perfect relationship. Whatever relationship, guys, most especially targeted individuals, if you're a mind control victim and you are aware that your siblings, your father, your mother are also mind control, like me, my kids are mind control. I don't know how to deal with this before, but now I'm learning more about this. Sometimes I have to just say, I have to adjust myself because I'm the one who's aware about it. You know what I mean? Like, my girls are mind control, my brothers are mind control, my mom is mind control. It's the AI, and sometimes I am mind control too. Sometimes if I cannot read my own active memory, then they have to inject the anger mood that you're at. You have to be mad, you have to be angry. That's and then you can't. Wherein I ended up not controlling myself, no self control, and that's the time when there is conflict, when there is a commotion, like emotional commotion between me and my girls. It's kind of hard to deal with it. But the things that makes me really have the total control of myself, of course, the fruit of the Holy Spirit. One of the fruit of the Holy Spirit: love, peace, joy, kindness, goodness, mildness, long suffering, and self control. Yeah, that self control. One of the fruit of the Holy Spirit is self control. So I think, and because I am the one that is aware of this program that they are mind controlled, then I have to be the one to adjust. And like when I went to did my long drive and I ended up in DY, I meant to go to, I don't know what was that, Narrabeen again, but I ended up in DY. And while I was driving, I said to myself, why is it gonna be always me have to adjust when I'm in this situation? But that's the reality, is because I'm the one knows about the program, about this mind control, about the technology that they use on us. And my children, even if I tell them to do your own research, do this, you know, they're still in that they're still in that mode, that synthetic world, that virtual reality. Yeah, so it's kind of hard. So guys, to all the TIs, if you are a mind control victim and you know that your family are also mind control victim and you know about the program, I think the best for us to do is to learn more about this program, about this technology that they use on us, and cultivate the fruit of the Holy Spirit. One is self-control. And when you have self-control, you have self-control in everything. Self-control to, with your addiction, whatever, sex addiction or gambling or drugs addiction, whatever. You know, you can cultivate that. And you cannot do that on your own. You have to pray to God, to Yahweh, to give you the Holy Spirit to help you cope with it. Okay, number 6. Moving on, guys. Find online TI support network and form friendships with other TIs. There are online support groups and daily conference calls for TIs. Okay, guys. Targeted individuals, Ella Free podcast show. They have the conference call, and also Anthony. What was that? Red Pill. Red Pill. Yeah, they have this TI support group wherein you can have conference calls. I haven't tried that. I've tried once, but I was put on queue and I did not bother to wait. So, but you can do that too, guys. And also on Facebook, TI support community group on pages on Facebook, like the Targeted Individual International, Targeted Individual Worldwide, stuff like that. But you have to make sure, be aware, guys, that according to Dr. Eric Carlstrom, these TI community support group are also infiltrated with 30% are trolls, okay? Meaning to say that 30% mostly are 30% are fake targeted individuals. They're probably a CO agent, FBI, CIA, MI5, MI6, who knows, yeah? So you just have to gauge it. Actually, earlier I did call this guy Robert. What's his name? I called Canada 15 minutes. Because I saw the post from NSA whistleblower Karen Stewart. Robert from Canada, he's a targeted individual, and then Karen Stewart said, this is his number, he needs to talk to someone, he's in bad shape, blah blah blah. So I called him and I talked to him for 15 minutes over the phone, and I just said, can I just add you on Messenger, because it cost me to call, I don't know how much, maybe usually to call Canada in America is, I don't know, 3 cents per minute, 10 cents. It depends, probably because I'm with Telstra now, I don't know. But anyway, that was 15 minutes, and then I just got to know him and he told me about his story. But I'm not disclosing anything, if what I think about him, if he's real or not. I don't know, because that was the first time that I've spoken to him. But I mean, this is just an example, guys. Yeah, you have to gauge it. You have to gauge who you talk to. Because in the past, like 5, 6 months ago, I used to have communication with some other targeted individuals in Australia, and they claimed to be their targeted individuals. And then it ended up, then I just found out that actually, eh, they're not, things like that. So it's kind of hard, because this program is there for 70 or more years. So it's kind of really hard to gauge the real ones. But yeah, just use your discernment, guys. Okay. So those are the TI support. And then moving on, number 7, guys, do not allow yourself to become depressed. Learn to enjoy your own company. Get out in nature. Teach yourself something you've always wanted to learn. Garden, cook new recipes, listen to good music. I love that one. I love that part. Listen to good music and watch good movies. Guys, you know what? I'm planning to watch a movie on my own, but I don't know when. And I already got a movie to watch. Okay? But I don't know where. Maybe in the city. We'll see. The only thing in the city is that, of course, smart city technology. But the only thing, when you go to the city, you get the corporate perks. I really hate it when I go to the north, and then you still get those perks in the north. You like, I get the Bangladesh, Indian, Pakistan, Filipino in here. Yeah, and then when I have to go to the north, because I wanted the north, the corporate and Caucasian perps. Yeah, because when I get Caucasian perps, it's like I don't know. It's different. Okay. And then when you go to those area and then you still see those perps there that are been perping you when you are in Wentworthville, it's just frustrating, really. Can't enjoy. You can't enjoy that. Not that I'm racist. No, it's not that I'm racist. I hate it when you say that I am racist. Okay, it's just a preference. It's different. It's like I like Caucasian. That doesn't mean that I am racist. And I was portrayed, and I was uh, they fabricated all these lies to the community that I am racist. Unbelievable. Anyway, learn to enjoy your own company. Get out in nature. That's what I do. Do your outdoor activities, guys. Yeah, most especially if you are getting heat from 1 a.m., 12 a.m. to 5 a.m. with a directed energy weapon. It's do your earthing therapy, yeah. Walk barefoot. That's good. Go to the beach like that. Um, walking exercise, bushwalk, whatever. Teach yourself something you've always wanted to learn. I've always wanted to learn the ukulele, so maybe I have to do something with that. I always wanted to you know what, guys? Oh my god, my hive mind team is watching in my handler. It's a confession. I don't have to say it here because sometimes when I'm very open with what I say online, on my YouTube or on Facebook. That's where they have to draw what harassment they have to come up with. Who cares? Okay. I wanted to learn Spanish. I still wanted to learn that. But I'm thinking of learning Russian instead. Maybe I can go to, I'm thinking maybe I can learn Russia because I wanted to go to Russia one day. Not because I wanted to escape, of course not. I've already told you the reason I will never ever leave Australia because I have my children. I have my girls here. And as far as I'm alive, until this program murdered me, I am here for my children. I am here for my daughters. The time that they will wake up, and or you know the time that the handler wake them up, that they are targeted individuals, I am here to stay. So just to for your information, to my handler in Australia and to the High Mind team, I wanted to learn Russia not because I wanted to escape and go to Russia one day and move there. I wanted to move there with my children, yes, but to go for a holiday in Russia, I wanted to do that. Okay, that's why I wanted to learn Russia instead of Espanol, or maybe I can do both. Who knows? So, guys, something like that. Learn ukulele. Teach yourself something you've always wanted to learn. It says. And then it says, do gardening for those of you who, if you have a house, space, backyard, front yard, then you can do your gardening, guys. Cook new recipes. Okay, for those targeted individuals, male ones who doesn't love cooking, try to cook. I love my risotto, but I'm stuck with 3 recipes. So I think oh my, I think I have to like do the next one. Okay, the fourth recipe risotto recipe. Okay, listen to good music, guys. Music is very very good. The OD whistleblower Brian Chu, he always listen to Christian music or love song. Okay, and also, guys, by the way, also, when you're a mind control victim, you according to electronic engineer, what's his name? Dave. Oh, what's the last name? David. Oh my God, I forgot the last name. David something. Um, you can try. You can try, like, if because what I do, like when I'm listening to mellow music. Let's say for instance, yeah, I'm listening to smooth FM mellow music. So my ear, I put one of earphone in my left ear, while my right ear listening to mellow music, and then I'm doing writing. I'm doing my outline, whatever I'm reading and writing. So that's multitasking. If you're a mind control victim, you do multitasking. The supercomputer cannot read what you're thinking at that moment because of the frequency that you're getting from those directions. Yeah, the music, you're listening to two sounds, and then at the same time you're thinking, you're writing, multitasking. So that's, if you're a mind control targeted individual, that tip from David Bass, I think, the electronic engineer, I'll double check, guys, but that his name is David. That's very good to do, multitasking. Okay, continue to do everything you enjoyed doing before being targeted. Mm-hmm. Even if you have to do it alone. So, guys, like Ramola D said, we have to rediscover ourselves. Oh, who we were in the past. Yeah. So I love the things that I love. The things that I love, I have to continue to love. Even though these things and these someones that you love are part of the paradigm, you still have to continue to love anyways. Yeah. If they don't reciprocate that feelings, that emotions, that actions that you've done to them, your blessings will not come from them anyway. It will come from God. So it's like, what makes you happy? Does it make you happy when you support others, or when you help others? That's what makes you happy, isn't it? Something like that. No, I'm getting messages there. Guys, I'm sorry that I can't. It's so far away. I can't read your messages, guys. I'll check later. Okay, so that's what you have to do. Continue to do everything you enjoyed doing before, and that's what I'm doing. And the not, I can't use the word funny things about this, sad things about this, weird things about this, the satanic things about this program is that they have to use the things that you like and the things that you don't like to harass you. I tell you now, and I've experienced that. Okay, moving on, number 8. Human beings need human interaction. Okay. Continue to try to interact with other people even if it's not a long-term interaction. A short-lived friendship is better than no contact at all. I've done this few times when I'm out, like when I was in at DY the other day at the beach. So there was this young lady just walk past. They love to throw a street theater in front of you when you're. They love to invade your privacy. Okay, that's the word. They love to invade your privacy according to their handler's instructions, of course. They need to throw all of this street theater in front of you while you're doing your, trying to enjoy your being alone. That's what they do. So one time when I was in DY, this young lady walked past. I just say, "Oh, can you please take a photo?" and stuff like that. So that's just short interaction with human beings, and they're human beings. Okay, these gang stalkers are still human beings. Okay, short. Human beings need human interaction. So you don't totally, even though you are aware that they're gang stalkers, and because sometimes it's, it is sick. Sometimes it makes you sick when you do the selfies every time you do your selfie, like taking photos. And I love photos. So, and my handler knows that. That's why he sent those, you know, those just walking past or something like that, because he knows that I'm going to ask one of his perps to take picture of myself, of me. Mm. Okay, guys, so we still need human interaction. You know what? I don't really suggest, if you are a targeted individual, and I don't want to suggest that you have to go to a brothel if you are a male target, because even those establishment are, and it's not even good actually, because brothel itself is just the word itself is not good. So it's not a good suggestion, guys. So don't do it. Oh my god, why is it went in my brain? Okay. So don't do it, okay? Just read your books. Listen to music, number 9. Oh my god, moving on. You may want to communicate via social media, okay? Twitter, Facebook. Join online social groups in huh? Okay, join online social groups and forums. There are TI groups in. You know, sometimes with groups, I used to have like they put me in a TI group, yeah, like chat groups, like targeted individuals. Sometimes I don't like that because like they have questions like, oh, what you don't like about gang stalkers, or what do you hate? And for me, it's kind of like they're just getting some information on the things that you know, and for that's why I don't join this TI. But it's up to you guys. You just gotta have to gauge who are the real ones. And for sure, I get some real ones, and then I don't know how my online perp manipulate things online. Um, you know, maybe I get some I because I'm up until now. I found one Anthony Nessie. He's from Melbourne. Yeah, he's from Melbourne. Anthony Nessie, and I haven't spoken to him yet. Only on Facebook. I shared his YouTube videos about the community health worker that went to his place the day after his gang stalker smashed his car, right? But I haven't in contact with him yet. I wanted to like talk to him and stuff like that. Yeah, and yeah. So far I haven't have a targeted individual, Australian targeted individual that I can talk to, that I can go out for coffee, and or that I can visit. You know, yeah, I haven't. I don't know. My online IT perf is so good in manipulating everything online. So what can I do? It says here, take up a hobby, get into activism, and meet other activists. I wanted to say something about this. Okay. During my synthetic world last year, okay, I've attended once a human rights events in the city, a town hall. Yeah, all of those representing Brisbane, representing this activism on this, raising public awareness on. They have all of these human rights advocacies and stuff like that. I forgot the name of that girl. And now connecting the dots, most of them are bloody gang stalkers. They are part of the program. They are on in it. These these human rights groups, activists, are also infiltrated with bloody bogus 007. Unbelievable. Yeah. Unless probably if I join a human rights group, activist group, that are, let's say for instance, the New Zealand and Australia, the one that are very active in doing the skywatch, the geo engineering, yeah, or let's say the Galileo movement in Queensland. I know they're real people. They're real. They're not sold out. They're really campaigning, raising public awareness on Agenda 21 about these chemtrails, yeah, geoengineering, something like that. Yeah, I was, and not to mention, okay, during my synthetic world, I even went to bloody Queensland, and then I thought this guy with a project wherein they have to, like, it's like they're concerned about the environment, that they have to help out taking all of these shits, like, water bottles, plastics in the oceans, like that, like, to clean up, yeah, yeah, for environment, cleaner, greener, or whatever. And I found out that um him and his wife, they're just bloody gang stalkers. They're part of the paradigm, they're part of the program, they're on in it. They use their charities, they use their activism group, yeah, as a front. Unbelievable. It's disgusting, really. Unbelievable. Anyway, and it's the same thing with, how can you like say, oh, you are advocating this, you are helping this charity group, this human rights group, advocating for equality, whatever, and at the same time you're promoting NBN. Yeah, NBN. And uh, NBN is a kill grid. It is a silent weapon. NBN, also known as the 5G. These are silent weapons. So, it doesn't make sense. It contradicts itself, isn't it? But of course, guys, for you targeted individuals, activism is good. But what I'm saying is that you have to really scrutinize, not scrutinize the word, like really gauge or discern if that group, you need to investigate about that group if it's really for real, you know I mean, because it's not it maybe they're for real, it's just that they're infiltrated. That's what I meant. It's like it's the same with our state police. Yeah, not all cops are bloody corrupt police, not all cops are on in it. It's just that the majority of them are corrupted by the system itself. Yeah. I know that there are a lot of good cops, Australian state police, but it's just that they're corrupted by the system. Majority are on in it because I don't know, because of their fear for their family, lose their jobs. Yeah, things like that. What can we do? And the last one, guys, look for volunteer opportunities. Your local children's hospital, senior facility, or soup kitchens are usually good places to volunteer. Okay, volunteer. I used to do volunteer, right? I've done the radio volunteer. What's that? It's kind of hard for me to like. I'm contemplating of getting a time slot on an FM radio station where I can talk about Agenda 21, but where? You think I can go back to triple HFM? You think I can go back to FM 98.5 and Burwood and do broadcasting and get a time slot, pay from my own pocket, $60 per hour, a time slot, wherein maybe they can let me do that, and then at the same time when I do my time slot doing the broadcasting talking about Agenda 21 illegal surveillance in Australia, but no one is actually listening to me, they can even do that. So that's another sabotage, right? What are the possibilities of that? That's why I said in my previous blog, it only take one anchor journalist, whether it's SBS, ABC 7, Channel 7, Channel 9, Channel 10, it only take one TV anchor to whistle blow, but they're not doing it. Yeah, even these investigative journalists that they call themselves, they're not doing it. They're not doing anything. Zip up, zip up. Of course, they love their Mercedes Benz. They love all the material things that they're enjoying, their lifestyle. Yeah, that's why they zip up. Well, I just hope and pray you'll get to take your yacht, your private jet when you die. Hallelujah. Anyway. Anyway, guys, so those are the 10 tips for us, if we can get volunteer, involve ourselves. I don't know if I can do this one because like community, I will see if I'm going to, because I haven't seen any MP yet or councilor in Cumberland. Yeah, I'm going to actually, one of the MP during my synthetic world, now connecting the dots, she's a bloody gang stalker. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I think I've even interviewed her on my radio at that time. Now connecting the dots. She's a gang stalker. See, the deep shit state, I call it. Sorry, but 99.9% of these politicians are bloody, Luciferian puppets. Yeah, they are enabler of this Agenda 21, poisoning our air. Like they talk everything. Have any of you ever watch a news wherein they talk about the Agenda 21 or illegal surveillance in Australia, about the Five Eyes countries? None. They have to guise it. They have to camouflage it. They have to guise it with climate change, global warming. Bullshit. It's not global warming. It is geoengineering. That's what they do. And then they have to throw all the narrative with with the Australian people. The narrative that they have to throw all of these social, economic, sports issues and nonsense issues to divide us, all of us. Yeah, to keep us busy with all of these soap operas, whatever, political theaters that they do. When the world is actually uh, a stage, a show. The same with Australian politics. Yeah, most particularly the Liberal and the Labour Party. Whoever wins among this political party, they are enabler of Agenda 21, genocide depopulation program. No one of these um, political party will stop the chemtrails. No one. Okay, because their bosses are the Rothschild, these Illumina, these globalists. They lick their asses. That's what they do. And these Luciferian enterprises, mainstream prostitute media, 7, 9, 10, SBS and ABC, yeah, and all of this Sky News, CNN, prostitute media are not saying anything about these atrocities. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. But anyway, guys, that's the tips for us, targeted individuals. My new Instagram account is Targeted Individual Australia. And before I say goodbye, because I'm up for my Zumba now in exercise, I would like to share with you the what's this? The Global Gestapo, just 15 minutes duration. Let me see. Okay. I'm not getting the messages, guys, but I will read your message after my blog. And let's see. Okay, let's hang on a second. Hang on a second, guys. Just moving. Okay.
Yeah, but so yeah, it is horrifying, and so a lot of people, are kind of insulated from wanting to go there by the walls.
That is true, but you see, most people don't know this aspect, that there was an intention, that there was a plan to destroy America from within. And it's been put in place over the decades in precisely these ways. For instance, through the mass movements of rock culture, the big rock concerts, the big rock groups. And,
Right.
The conventional view of that is that, is just that rock was a natural evolution. It was a natural kind of rebellious.
Oh, sure, this is an organic thing. That's what we all believed, and
Right.
99% of us still believe, and that's still our soundtrack. You go into Walmart and you hear these songs from the '60s that were created by these intelligence agencies.
Yeah. It's created rebellion, right? I mean, so this is sort of the ultimate hubris. The ultimate hubris of the secret team that runs these control operations and all of us over time is that they think they can control us, even through giving us what they think we want. We want a little rebellion, so here you go,
Exactly. Well, let me just read a little bit from this brilliant writer, David McGowan. He's actually quite humorous. So, he's identifying the intelligence ties with all these musicians. And then he talks about the Young Turks, which was the actors and actresses that were part of that Laurel Canyon scene, Peter Fonda and Jane Fonda and Jack Nicholson and many, many others. He says the nucleus of the 1960s clique known as the Young Turks and Turkettes was composed of the following individuals: the son of a bonesman, Skull and Bones, so Yale, the son of an OSS officer, the son of a naval intelligence officer, the daughter of that same naval intelligence officer, the daughter of an army intelligence officer, the daughter of a guy who openly associated with prominent gangsters throughout his life, the son of a probable psychologist, and a guy whose early years are so shrouded in mystery that he may or may not exist. And again, he's a very clever writer. But it gets darker. As an inordinately high number of these famous musicians and actors died at very young ages. Jim Morrison at 27, Mama Cass Elliot at 32, Jimi Hendrix at 27, Graham Parsons at 26, Janis Joplin at 27, Phil Oakes at 35, Tim Buckley at 28, James Dean at 24, Nick Adams at 36, Natalie Wood at 43, and Sal Mineo at 37. And there are many more.
And there are many more, and they're still doing it, right? And they're still knocking off these stars at very young ages, these singers and musicians and actors.
Yeah, because because they're mind controlled, and if it get out of hand, they have to go, And
yeah, they're knocked off. And there are many stories that we can, kind of point to.
And let me give you one. Phil Oakes, folk singer, songwriter, and political activist, 60s, was found hanged in his sister's house in Far Rockaway, New York on April 9th, 1976. Throughout his life, Oakes was the most overtly political of the 1960s rock and roll or rock and folk music stars. A regular attendee at anti-war civil rights and labor rallies, Oakes appeared to be at all times an unwavering political leftist. In early 1975, Phil Oakes' public persona abruptly changed. Using the name John Butler Train, Oakes proclaimed himself a CIA operative and presented himself as a belligerent right-wing thug. Also, in those final months of his life, Oakes began compiling curious lists with entries that clearly were references to U.S. biological warfare research: shellfish toxin, Fort Detrick, cobra venom, Chantilly racetrack, hollow silver dollars, New York Cornell Hospital. And then, of course, he's offed in 1976. Well, here's a guy who got out of the box, right? I mean, he was, and this is what McGowan says. He says, many years before Oakes' metamorphosis, in an interesting bit of foreshadowing, psychological warfare operative George Estabrooks, we talked about, explained how U.S. intelligence agencies could create the perfect spy with just hypnotism. We start with an excellent subject. We need a man or woman who is highly intelligent and physically tough. Then we start to develop a case of multiple personality through hypnotism. This is George Estabrooks talking. This is one of our psychiatrists. In his normal waking state, which we will call personality A or PA, this individual will become a rabid communist. He will join the party, follow the party line, and make himself as objectionable as possible to the authorities. Note that he will be acting in good faith, because that's who his personality is. Then we develop personality B or PB, the second personality, the unconscious personality, if you will, wish. This personality is rabidly American and anti-communist. Estabrooks never explained what would happen if the programming were to go haywire and personality B were to become the conscious personality, but my guess is that such a person would be considered a severe liability and would be treated accordingly. They might even find themselves swinging from the end of a rope. Phil Oakes was 35 at the time of his death. So, I mean, this is back in the 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s. George Estabrooks was making these propositions to the U.S. government in 1942.
Absolutely. And, now we know so many molecular biologists, so many microwave radiation scientists, so many have met untimely deaths or been found, dead in very suspicious circumstances, etc. And as you know, I was listening to Dr. Bill Daigle recently, and the oldest videos of him, actually, the original Bill Daigle, before he appeared on Gary Cassidy's show and began to look like a different person altogether, that Bill Daigle. So that first Bill Daigle talked about, he talked about the underground bases. He talked about having contacts in military and intelligence. And he talked about how what they are really afraid of, this entire secret coterie, the guys who hide behind the top secret covers, etc. What they're really afraid of is not you and me, not the sheeple, not the people who are very far removed from the military and intelligence world. They're really afraid of their scientists, the people from the inside who know what's going on and who might whistleblow. So those are the guys and ladies and women, whom they're trying to control the most.
Yeah.
And who they kill, as they step out of line and speak out, apparently.
Right. Well, it would appear that they kill lots of people, and that this is a standard MO. This is what they do. I mean, these are murderers. We think of intelligence operations, or intelligence operators as being, very smart people who are doing spy stuff. Well, they're killing people too. And it was, of course, the 1970s Frank Church Senate Commission that exposed these MK Ultra atrocities. And the CIA only got a slap on the wrist, at which point they said, okay, we're not going to do that anymore. We promise,
Right. We're not going to speak about that anymore. It's probably what that really meant.
But of course, then these experiments went underground into the cults, like Jones, so on, and into the program to kill serial killings. And now I believe that they're worldwide. Global Gestapo is, I believe, the continuation of these MK Ultra programs. There are probably thousands of sub-projects now carried out at thousands of universities by our intellectual cognitive researchers and military people, etc. But we have this window on what happened in the 50s and 60s through John Mark's book, The Search for the Manchurian Candidate. And that sets the template for everything. Even though it's a small amount of their documentation, it tells us what they're up to. And so it's so important, I think, for people to understand what our government has done in these top secret programs and how they are now being applied. And there are people like Catherine Austin Fitts who talk regularly about the importance of mind control in our society and how our politicians are mind controlled and how different elements of a culture are mind controlled. These scientists, I'm guessing, being one myself, having spent 30 years as a professor, a little harder to control. Their minds are highly focused and disciplined, and they may or may not have a sense of inborn ethics that would make them dangerous. They might blow the whistle. So yeah, these mostly would be people who have not been captured intellectually or mentally, but then could be a threat to the system.
They are. And, there's other things in play as well. And I think it would be very interesting, actually, to explore how the governments of the world have been captured. It's all through an infiltration, I guess, through these secret societies and through the CFR and CIA operating transcontinentally. But that would be kind of interesting to explore. And then this, in addition to sort of mind control, which is, weaponized neuroscience being aimed at people in high positions, there's also the very seamy, very ugly aspects of trafficking and pedophilia and pedo control with control files. That's also an operation. I recently spoke to Neil Derry, who is an activist in London, and she had her home stolen. Literally, she was kicked out of her home. She was evicted, and her home was stolen and placed on the auction by Barnard Marcus, which is a huge auction homes, auction rooms in London. And the courts conspired against her because she was a baby protection advocate and a child protection advocate. She's a pharmacist who spoke out and who drew attention to these crimes in London. So what she was talking about really is, she said there is a child porn industry worldwide, and they are the ones who are running the show. They are placing people in office who will permit their crimes to go unseen. And this is part of that satanic network. So the satanic network believes that they should be left in peace to go on with their nefarious activities because it gives them power. You see, their sacrifice and their killing and their organ harvesting and organ trafficking and the sex trafficking, child trafficking, all of that stuff. So
torture and blood are
torture.
very big for the Masons, the Illuminati, and of course the term Holocaust actually means burnt offering. You make a burnt offering to Satan, or Moloch, or whatever you want to call this evil, entity or whatever. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a satanic network, and I call it Judeo-Masonic satanic because I think that's the core. But of course, it extends widely, and the importance of pedophilia is tremendous because it is traditional. And all these guys know this. These psychologists, the satanic ritual abuse and the MK Ultra trauma-based mind control traditionally works best with children who have been satanically ritually abused and or raped as part of that in a ritual setting. And what happens with a child of 6 or less, or maybe 8, but 6 or less, then the child an adult will have post-traumatic stress disorder, shell shock. But a child less than 6, in order to survive, has to dissociate and create an alter personality. That's how they survive this horrendous event. And if there's a trainer there who knows how to quickly deal with this alter personality and give it a name and put it in this mind control internal structure, which they're working with the child now and telling the child, okay, there's a castle and it's got a lot of rooms, and you have one of your identities is over here, and that's a bird identity, and that's a wolf identity, and that's a demon, and blah blah blah, and that's a sex slave, whatever. And this form of dissociation happens during these trauma-based events such as rape of children. So the fact that this is a pedophilia culture fits perfectly, because now you're going to develop human beings who are going to perpetuate this atrocity to others because it was done to them. But you're also going to have people who are highly dissociative, therefore easy to manipulate.
That's
So
right.
it falls right into the mind control culture. Okay, to bring it back to the Judeo-Masonic thing, in the Talmud, it says it's okay for a man to marry a girl of 3 or older, or 3 or less, or whatever. I can't even remember. It's in the Talmud. And a boy of 9 or less, or whatever. In other words, pedophilia is sanctioned. So we talk about all the atrocities of the Roman Catholic Church, and they're horrible. But the Catholic Church has been infiltrated, and with the intent to bring it down, I believe, per this 2,000-year war between the Jews and the Roman Catholics, and is certainly pedophilia is certainly a big part of not only Judaic culture, but also Islam culture. I mean, it's much more accepted in those two religions, if you want to call it that. I mean, how do you call it?
Well, it's everywhere, I think. It's everywhere in the world. But it appears that there is an organized crime syndicate that is using it, in order to keep power.
Yeah. Well, I think control. It's ultimately about control and power. You're right. And greed, of course, because these are the things that drive the top people, And I guess if you sign on, and you become a part of that, you get certain bennies, at least for now. And of course, then later you go to hell. So I think it's a bad deal,
Right. But you see, that's what's the horrific thing that's happening, is that because there is this intense control system, that where children, the most innocent in our society, are being victimized and exploited and subjugated and colonized in this fashion. And you have this sort of satanic cult that's kind of running the show, then you have people being held hostage to it. And if you have the same satanic cult running the world's most powerful military and intelligence operation, with their helicopters and their planes and their drones and their everything, and their mechanisms for war. Because, I mean, look at what's going on in world affairs currently. This whole notion of, are they going to declare war on Iran? Are they going to, what's going on with Saudi Arabia and Yemen?
Israel is provoking World War III on a daily basis with very, very cleverly planned incidents, like, the shooting of this.
The shooting down of that Russian plane?
Airplane, that was done very cleverly, using the 15 Russians there as a human shield for this Israeli attack, one of 200 over the last 5 years in Syria, So Israel is, pulling out the stops, trying to get the world to go to World War III. If the United States is destroyed in a nuclear exchange with Russia, well, they've been gutting us for a long time, haven't they? They've extracted, it's like a carcass. You get the leg, and you get the, thigh, and you get America is being taken down culturally, spiritually, economically, industrially, intellectually, every way you can think of. And this mind control, most powerful of all, I think, the mechanisms, but it's just one of many. And so that's why we need to see the larger picture.
We do. We need to see the larger picture. We need to understand exactly what's happening, the historical basis of what's happening today. And also, I mean, at this point, we need to also start talking about solutions. Are we going to simply accept our fate over here as set in place by these guys, or are we going to stand up, speak out, and do something about it? Or do we have to stand up and speak out? Are there other things that we can do, more spiritual things perhaps, that would indeed have, a powerful kind of impact in the situation?
Well, excellent question. You know, we had one. I think our first global Gestapo discussion was about Kay Griggs. You know, and from what I understand, she's still alive and she's praying like crazy. You know, there's a Christian who, you know, she's done her bit to put out the truth, risking her life. She has been a targeted individual. She has shared that information. I've got a post or two about it. We've done an interview on it, and now she's doing the spiritual praying thing, which I think has validity. Others are going to want to take the legal tack. You know, you and I are definitely taking the education tack because that's
most definitely. You're right.
You know, I am an educator, so this is my contribution. Now, I would be glad to get into the legal realm if I could to, you know, find solutions, because I think there's solutions to be found there. But yeah, we all have to do what we can. You know, I mean, we have to be a multi-pronged defense, really.
Absolutely, yes, because this is the fight for our lives. This is the fight for humanity. And
Right.
I'm glad you mentioned that there are different prongs over here to this. You know, you can take the legal tack, and I think the group Targeted Justice is doing a fabulous job with Jack Christiana at its helm, the legal director over there, doing a huge amount of research as to how exactly to approach this. And Seven of Solutionaries Media, I mean, she was on my show a little while back. She talked about how you can actually file a claim. You may not be able to file a claim for everything, every wrongdoing and every injustice that you're experiencing, but there are some things you can prove. So everything that you can prove, you should go ahead and file a claim. So, and also take a stand. She started a hashtag campaign on Twitter. No more abuse, no more evil. And that's pretty powerful. You know, that's sort of the power of intention. So the intention track is another big one. You know, people just need to have the intention to fight back or to say no. No, we don't consent to the destruction of humanity. You know, we don't consent to the control of humanity or the takeover of humanity. We don't consent to neurological takeover, because that's what this is all leading to: total neurological and transhumanist takeover. So there are.
You've been working extraordinarily hard, you know, and extremely productive, you know, and of course, you know, you're not being paid by, you know, the government to do this. You're being attacked for doing it. Likewise, me, I'm also working hard on my 5 websites, and I've just finished an article. Of course, your website is everydayconcern.net, which posts an enormous amount of information for people, including these YouTube presentations. And I've just written an article, inferred functions of, you know, global stalking, mind control, electronic assault operations, which I call Gog's new Gestapo. Now it's 60s, and
Okay.
our short version is Global Gestapo. But I feel like in that article, which is at the top under gang stalking subheading, I more or less figured out what's going on, you know, and what are the dimensions of it, who's doing it, how they're profiting, etc.
Yeah, you do a fabulous job, Eric, and you know you should give yourself a big pat on the back, because your website is a huge compendium of information as well. And plus, you have many other websites. I should tell people who are watching. You know, there's 911envo.org. There's
naturalclimatechange.org.
Yeah. And this one, these 3 are your top information.
The big ones, yeah.
Big ones. And you have a lot of information also on Agenda 21 on one of these websites.
And the New Age Movement on my 911nwo.com.
Right.
So the information is more and more out there, you know, in these alternative platforms like, you know, the internet and these kinds of YouTubes. And I do believe that it's making a difference, you know, that it's a matter of spreading the word and for people waking up and realizing that, so how much is at stake? You know, as you say, the future of humanity, free will is at stake. Your children, you know, their children, everything's at stake. Your civilization certainly is at stake. And that's a pretty big motivator for you and me. And I think as other people get on board, they bring their talents, they bring their abilities.
Yes.
And they find their talents and they find their abilities in this, you know, in this process. You know, there's a whole lot of young people out there with a lot of energy. And as they, you know, more and more get involved with what they can do, you know, the tide can turn. if these intelligence agencies can be outed for the criminals that they are, but see, the problem is that they weaponize society now, and they're paying people to stalk other people. It almost goes back to that quote from the 19th century by one of the four top robber barons, Jay Gould. I can pay half the working class to kill the other half. This is where we are now.
And that is what's going on. And meanwhile, mainstream media maintains this sort of stoic face of we don't know anything about what's going on. And anyone who says they're being stalked, they're just delusional. And here are our psychologists and sociologists who'll come forward and say, we don't have any evidence whatsoever to say with definitive certainty that this kind of organized stalking or use of EMF weapons on people is going on. These people are sadly mentally ill. There was a new article in CBC News, I think that's Canadian Broadcasting News, from this young, bright who apparently is following in the footsteps of Mike McFate of New York Times and Justin Rohrlich of the Daily Beast, simply tearing down the massive amounts of evidence, whistleblowing, scientific testimony, declassified documents, testifying to the bioeffects of non-lethal weapons, testifying to the years and years of research that these military and intel organizations have been engaging in as to how to affect the human brain with weaponry, with stealth weaponry, etc. Simply ignoring all of that and saying these people are delusional. So this is going on. This literally happened last week. So that's not stopping either. So a lot of people who read, mainstream media are going to continue to be confused for a long while.
Yeah, of course, that is the goal. Satan is the confuser and the tempter and the murderer, and the liar. And this is not new. All these tactics go way back, and that's what's so interesting about studying these things. In the 60s and 70s, the CIA psychiatrists tried to keep a lid on all the people who were testifying by forming the false memory foundation syndrome or false memory syndrome foundation. Dr. Martin Orne and Jolyon West and all these guys who were actually doing all this evil, rotten programming of human beings to destroy them. They say, oh, well, that person's memory is false, and they're sick, and just put them in.
And that again is a projection of the pedophilic, pedosadist industry,
Right. So these are old tactics that just keep coming back, and they're so tired and they're so worn if you look at the history. But if you're not looking at the history and you're kind of seeing everything as it's coming at you, which is the goal of this Tavistock, assault on our integrity as individuals and as a culture, it's just crisis based, going from one crisis to the next that they manufacture for us so that we're going to be, always in defense mode, reacting, and shell shocked ourselves, we're going to be
traumatized, and also we're in a state of fear, terror, chaos. It's all that Operation Chaos. I mean, look at their names, right? So and that connects to energy, it connects to vibration, it connects to sound healing. In other words, we do have tools at our fingertips if we can move away from these vibrational energies of negative energies of fear and terror, etc., and being manipulated, because that ultimately was also what was behind the DID, right? The dissociative identity disorder thing, where they traumatized these children, and then they were able to hypnotize them further, right?
Oh, absolutely. Then absolute control, and there is some discussion, I think, amongst psychologists today still. You have to have this dissociative identity disorder or multiple personality disorder embedded usually in somebody by the time they're 8 in order to control them in this manner, and the question for me is interesting now. Have they electronically figured out how to do this to adults? Which again, going back to our topic, Monarch, the New Phoenix program, did they, during the Montauk program years of the 1980s, figured out how to use electronic means to fragment the personality, to create dissociative identity disorder, and therefore a monarch slave? And this is something that I'm still kind of looking into. I'm sure there are people out there who know.
There are, but if you look at what's happening with those who are targeted today and what they are reporting, and you and I have both heard many people's stories, so we kind of understand the spectrum over here. What people are reporting is not just that they're being hit with weapons, directed energy weapons that are impacting on parts of their body, but they're also being hit, with whether they're talking about brain chip interfaces or neurotech via nanotech, they're being hit in the brain. People are reporting things like electronic images, sensations, and thought injection as well. And that's a kind of radio hypnosis, a kind of takeover of mental processes. People are also reporting biorobotizing, their fingers, limbs, arms being moved. They're reporting electrical shocks and vibrations on their body. That, of course, is physical. But in conjunction with this program, where people are most definitely being guinea pigged into very dark experiments or operations, a lot of people say these are not experiments, these are operations. Okay, whatever they are, they're consistent, they're constant, they're 24/7. So that's what a lot of TIs are reporting, that these are 24/7 operations on their bodies and brains. In conjunction with that, they are being subjected to intensive COINTELPRO on the streets. Absolute organized stalking, harassment, cars staring out of corners, cars cutting you off. I have experienced this myself. Hazardous driving, helicopter stalking, small plane stalking, noise creation, huge noise harassment. Those are methodologies of stress creation, right?
Yes.
Constant stressing and constant traumatizing of the human psyche. So that possibly, to answer your hypothesis over here, maybe it's a continuous process of disassociation that they're going for over here, a non-stop attack to really engage in that kind of traumatic disassociation.
Yeah, and it certainly seems to combine these two major elements, the MK Ultra technologies with the COINTELPRO or Phoenix program is really the same thing applied in Vietnam. Let's use COINTELPRO, I guess. But yeah, this is the gang stalking, the harassment, intimidation on the ground, combined with the mind control, electronic modification, RNM, etc. This is what the global Gestapo is. These are the elements that are there, and then the question is, well, the goal is neutralization, maybe murder, soft kill, or testing weapons, or perhaps modification to the point where the individual will do your bidding. Then you have your MK Ultra mind control slave, a monarch mind control slave. Now, that last proposition is still a hypothesis. Do you know of examples of individuals who have been monarched through the global Gestapo, so that they become then a tool of the state? They become an asset. They become a Manchurian candidate or something like that. That's a question to you.
Well, Manchurian candidates, I have reported on a few people who have reported being living Manchurian candidates, but the most famous is Rohini Baseser in Canada. So suppose she went and stabbed somebody in a basement shopping mall and she was picked up. But turns out she's somebody who worked in the financial services industry in Toronto. She must have picked up a few enemies along the way. She could have picked up a few enemies along the way. She was reporting, she stated consistently in all her court appearances that she had a chip in her head. She needed to be MRI'd. And she spoke up for herself. So highly admirable person, spoke up for herself to the judge and kept demanding that she be examined medically, because she said, there was another person inside my head that was taking over my actions. It was not me. I'm a really good person. These are the kinds of things she was saying. Okay, and I reported on her story quite a bit. Unfortunately, I think she's still locked up, right? I mean, I guess the woman who got stabbed was killed, so died. So Rohini is still in jail. Definitely a story to follow up on. There have been some other stories in recent times. I was contacted by somebody who said they knew the family of the Waffle House shooter in, I think, in Tennessee or Kentucky. And this was a young man who also was reporting some kind of stalking and may have reported voices as well. So that's one person. And then Nicholas Cruz, that's the Parkland shooter, right? I guess he apparently spoke to the FBI and mentioned voices in his head.
Oh, sure. Well, that's commonplace. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So when people hear voices in your head, you know, the conventional, the old understanding is that this is schizophrenia, this is delusion, this is a mental problem. But today, and especially over the last 50 years, but definitely today, the knowledge we have is that voices in your head can be transmitted electronically. There are
That's right.
multiple means, really, both
V2K.
ultrasonic and microwave based, that can put sounds and voices into people's heads, and are part of the whole V2K phenomenon, the voice to skull, which was an acknowledged military technology that is now being kept dark again because they pulled the definition of the internet, and now they're relying on mainstream media to keep their secrets and call anybody who mentions voices in their heads insane and delusional and so on and so forth.
Yeah, they really have to bury a lot of information to do that, because these patents go back to the 60s and 70s. And there's a whole phenomenon that maybe most TIs are not familiar with, which is probably worth mentioning. Back in the 60s and 70s and 80s, especially associated with the New Age movement, we had all these Manchurian channelers who were channeling, they thought, voices from God, or voices from Jesus, or voices from Ra, or voices from Seth. There's a whole series.
Oh yes, that's the New Age channelers, right? I mean, there's so much information on the web. Yes.
Yeah, and you know, people like Helen Schuckman, PhD, psychology, Columbia University, heavy CIA involvement there, who herself is Jewish. She apparently channeled the Course in Miracles, which is, from a Christian point of view, heretical. She said she was channeling this information from Jesus, or it said it was Jesus. Okay, so anyway, she wrote this book. It became very popular in the 80s amongst the New Age, even Christians. And there's many other examples. Eileen Cady, who was instrumental in Findhorn over in Britain. Her first husband was in British intelligence. Her second husband was in American intelligence. She started hearing the voice of God, and the voice of God had her write many, many books. And this became the basis then of the Findhorn New Age experiment.
Oh, wow.
And she herself had to have a handler who actually kind of tortured her into actually believing that this voice was God, you know. So these are military intelligence operations.
Absolutely. You know, Alex Constantine even talks about remote viewing as nothing but an intelligence operation. That people who sign up for remote viewing, and at some point, I think he's mentioned that people were being paid to become trained in remote viewing. And they were really volunteering as test subjects for electronic images to be beamed into their heads.
Yeah, and you know, just to follow up with the Manchurian channeling, a lot of this had to do with UFO cults.
Oh,
and
right.
Of course, one of the big ones for UFO cults is Scientology, coming out of L. Ron Hubbard, who has association with Office of Naval Intelligence and British intelligence. And he was a pulp fiction writer. He wrote all these really crazy, you know, space odyssey books. And then he also was trained in mind control. And Scientology is, in fact, military, British and American military mind control applied to control a group of people and extract their money. So even though you know, famous actors like Tom Cruise and whatnot, you know, have been duped into this.
John Travolta.
John Travolta. Yeah. Unfortunately, this is right out of British intelligence, and L. Ron Hubbard is right out of British intelligence. And
that's a huge story in itself, you know, because
I've actually got quite a bit of about that on my 911nwo.com website under the subheading New World Religion ? And then I have this series that we talked a little bit about last time. Is Bach, the Vatican City of the New World Order, an expose of the New World Religion. Well, that got into that. It's out of that I started to study Tavistock and Frankfurt School, and then mind control, and then cults. And so when we're talking Scientology, we're talking about intelligence-created cults. And this is where they move their mind control experiments, you know, big time after the church committee kind of blew the whistle on what they were doing in the universities. and in the hospitals and in the military bases during the 50s, 60s, and 70s. So it is phenomenal. I mean,
It is. And
yeah.
And when you talk about intelligence created cults, ultimately we are talking also about the satanically derived and defined cults as well, and the creation of chaos and terror and fear in general in communities, right? And that sort of comes back to what I was talking about earlier. There's a kind of an uncertainty that's been infused in American life as to you never know when a cook is going to come out of somewhere and finish you off. That kind of attitude that's been that expectation that's entered the American mind through this mess of cults, serial killing, mass shooting, Manchurian candidates, all sorts of mayhem and extreme chaos. And actually, that I wanted to bring that back also to the obverse of it, what you were talking about, people having recourse to modalities and methodologies of countering this chaos creation. So whether it's legal means, taking educational means, or what can anybody do would be my real basic question. What can anybody do? If you don't want to do what you and I are doing, do media work, or if you don't want to do to follow the legal route and try to sue somebody, what can the average person do?
Well, good question. I mean, you and I are on the extreme end of the targeting, and we can assume that everybody's being targeted, by these softer forms of mind control too, and including surveillance, and propaganda, etc. But we're getting the real sharp end of the stick, But for me, anyway, the first imperative is to survive. And of course, like Gloria Naylor says in the beginning of her book, I'm in a battle for my mind. They're trying to destroy and take my mind. So you have to find the ways to nurture your own, spirit and mind.
That's great. Yes, absolutely.
I play banjo a lot. I play music a lot. I research a lot. There's a lot of times when there's no room for them to be in my mind because I've got it really, pretty booked up. And I'm in a beautiful place here in Colorado, a lot of beauty. So I get a lot of, the big problem for me is the isolation that they impose on you, because they're very good at that.
Yes, they are.
Very true.
From your friends and your family.
Absolutely.
And they want to do this moving box around you so that you don't create other friends because now you're in a false environment. And the people that you're dealing with, might be agents. They might be, they probably are, who are these this gang stalking network, So, they do throw you back into yourself. They want you to be overcome with depression and loneliness. So you have to find the antidote to that. And if you can do that, then whatever extra energy you have, I think should be devoted to exposing and defeating this program.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think those are
Absolutely.
powerful solutions, actually. You first talked about, going back to your own interests, which I think is so important. People need to go back to whoever they are whoever they used to be before this targeting began, and rediscover those joys,
That's
that made
the
them
one.
who they were. In your case, it's music. In my case, it's, it's poetry and art and fiction writing and so on, and reading. So I am, on a mission right now to start going back a little bit to all of those things, in addition to my journalism, which I will continue doing, in addition to my human rights activism, which I will continue doing, etc. But I want to go back and start finding a space, my own space again, because that's what has been evicted from our lives. We've gotten so involved in fighting this and speaking out and researching and writing that our previous lives have been seriously damaged, have suffered losses. Mine certainly has. So one of my missions certainly is to go back a little bit. But the thing that you're talking about, the social aspect, is also so very important. People do need to come together. So if people who are watching us, are in this position of having been targeted, having been socially isolated, and how people are socially isolated is something others should know about. People are socially isolated by character assassination. So we have the agencies, we have the FBI, the DHS, engaging in criminal activities in our neighborhoods, coming around and spreading stories about us. to our neighbors. So your neighbors are turned against you. That's community blacklisting. Employment blacklisting goes on. So every time you apply for a
Same in
job,
Australia.
potential employers are contacted and told stories about how you're being investigated for being a suspected terrorist or something like that. So that's also character assassination and blacklisting. And then families, I understand, are either contacted or themselves radio hypnotized in some way to be turned against you. So that happens as well. So because of that, it's important for us to come together with each other, to connect with each other, to make friendships, to work together, to make collegiateships, whatever, anything to keep connections, human connections going, or continue your church life, or continue your volunteering life. Take continuing education classes, go out and do something for others.
I'm gonna do my Russian
do
language.
something or anything that will get you out there, because isolation is something the human psyche can't quite handle very well, right? So those are important things. There's one more thing, though, that I'd like to talk about, and that's the whole vibration aspect. I know I've mentioned this a couple of times. I'll tell you why I want to talk about it. Yesterday, this goes back to some tweets that I made, and goes back to an article that was published in Activist Post by Aaron Kiesel about the Massachusetts State Police. And what this article was talking about was that some documents have been found showing that there's been an interest by the state police in activists, in surveilling activists. And so based on that, I made a few tweets. I connected this to my own case, where I am still reporting on the Quincy story that I have become a part of, because I live in Quincy, Massachusetts, and where indeed it seems fairly obvious to me from all of the information I'm getting that directed energy weapons testing, biobehavioral research has been going on in Quincy, in Boston, in the South Shore, and many towns over here, on a contract run by General Dynamics. So I'm still exploring this, and I'm putting the information out, but this is where my understanding is leading. So I made a few tweets on that, etc. At 6 o'clock, I was still working at my computer. I think I was getting ready to put another tweet out there. I had posted Gerald Sosby's articles and Karen Stewart's articles, and NSA whistleblower Karen Stewart and FBI whistleblower Gerald Sosby's articles about the takeover of our country and the fact that, the intelligence agencies have turned against them, they're whistleblowers, and they're being attacked with electromagnetic weapons, etc. And I was getting ready to do a third one, and I heard an incredible racket. It was a helicopter flying super, super low. So I went out and looked at it. It flew directly over my house and deck. I went out with my laptop. I started to film that helicopter, stayed in the area for about 25 to 30 minutes and kept circling. And when it circled, it ended its circle right over my head, literally, on the deck. So it certainly made me wonder if it was my tweets that had something to do with it. And then I looked up, and guess what? It was Massachusetts State Police helicopter. So, and it kept kind of, angling, so I couldn't miss the insignia and the logo and, the flashy words, etc. Very, very loud, very, very low. The house literally was shaking. So later on in the evening, I wondered what was going on. This was around 6 o'clock. This morning, rather, I found out that there supposedly had been a break-in and entry. They called it a B&E, a few streets away. And there was, some drama. Somebody called the cops, and there was a car parked outside, and then people jumped in the car and took off. This woman apparently heard burglars in her house, and then she called the police, and then the police came, and they couldn't find these guys. So they started a massive search, and they were joined by several other police units. So you see, there's the story over there. So my question is, was that a real break-in and entry, or was this a contrived setup? I don't know, but what I do know is that I was tweeting about the Massachusetts State Police article, and a Massachusetts State Police helicopter started to fly over my deck. And I do know also that Twitter removed about 800 of my photos and videos from my Twitter feed. The same in a couple hours. So, putting all of that together, you have to ask, was there a connection? To me, it certainly feels like there was a connection.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Whatever
absolutely.
it was, what they did with that helicopter flying so low, so extremely low, making such a racket,
Same, I get
was
that too.
extreme vibrational and noise and
Air
sound
stalking,
disturbance
I
of the
get that
neighborhood
every day
for
here.
30 minutes, more than 30
Lucky
minutes.
I live in an
Super loud,
apartment and I'm
breaking
in
of
the
the
middle.
energy patterns. Now, if you go back to sort of unified field theories and morphogenetic field theories, those theories suggest that everything that we do affects the morphogenetic field, the unified field in which we all live, and that each one of us has the power to affect reality, through what we put out into the universe. Whether we're putting out, good vibrations or bad vibrations. You're a musician, you should know about that. Right?
Okay, guys.
So all I wanted to say was it seemed to me as if there was some kind of takeover of the energy and vibrational fields last evening in my neighborhood.
Guys, it's nearly 8. I will say goodbye now. You can continue that on the Global Gestapo. Ramola the reports on YouTube. I think there's another like 5 minutes on that video. That's Global Gestapo. Number 5. There you go. Hello. Okay, guys. I'll say goodbye now. So, guys, good night, and hopefully before mom goes back to Philippines in 2 weeks time, I'm done with my outline with my medical co Intel Pro. I have like 20 pages about it, the account, the experience, the ordeal I suffered psychologically, mentally, physically inside the Cumberland Mental Institution in Sydney. I've already done my outline, and my audio evidence with the intern psychologist is already as well ready for me to show you on my next live stream for my medical co-intel pro experience, 4 nights 5 days ordeal inside the Cumberland Mental Institution. How it was manipulated, I wasn't given the form. I volunteered myself. It was manipulated that I ended up in that mental institution, and I will talk to you more about it on my next live stream, guys. So to all the targeted individuals, hang in there, and we can just do our activism and raising public awareness on this Co-Intel Pro. It is interlinked with the Agenda 21 Genocide Depopulation Program, guys. Just you can do your on your own little small ways in all of these social media platforms, or you can just go to your communities, whatever you can do. Like when I do my demonstration on the bus, on one or house to house, public transport like that, you can just do in your own little small ways. So guys, this is Pearly Gardener. Until next live stream, signing off. Until next time, God bless you all. Bye for now.